What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Here with you, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Thanks for joining in for this UFC 304 recap breakdown. We had some amazing fights on this card. It's crazy how these guys kept the fights going at like 3, 4 a.m., 5 a.m. It's got to be ridiculous. I know everybody in London was probably pissed that this was happening, but all the hardcore fans came out to support the fighters. It was awesome. Now, of course, today we're going to be focused on my weight class, welterweight, baby. That main event, Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad 2. We're going to be breaking that down round by round and kind of giving you my thoughts. And of course, I want to hear your thoughts as well, so make sure you type in the comments down below what you thought about each round. And of course, the rest of the card. I mean, this was a fantastic card. I love the Muhammad Mokaev versus Manel Kape. That was an amazing fight, 3-rounder right there. And it was like very, very technical, man. A lot of people didn't like that fight, but I loved it. I mean, the level changes, the shot, the wrestling defenses, the scrambles, the striking back and forth. I don't know about you, but I loved it. And of course, the Bruno Brazil versus Molly McCain fight was nasty, man. I mean, dropping her like with knees back to back to back, and for her to come back and finish the round. The back position scrambles. I mean, they were like taking each other's back like crazy. First, Molly had her back, and then Brazil had the back, and it was just back and forth. It was wild. And then, of course, the last 3 fights were just fantastic. I mean, the Patty Pimblett first round finish against the King Green, man. I didn't think it was going to go that way. I thought it was going to be a little bit more a back and forth, maybe striking battle, grappling battle. I thought King Green had the striking advantage, and of course, Pimblett having the grappling advantage. I mean, imagine waking up in the first round, being submitted, waking up, and also possibly having your arm broken. I mean, ridiculous, man. I thought the referee should have been a little bit quicker. I called him, man. He like twitched for a second. I knew the guy was out. So I thought the referee should have stepped in a little bit sooner, so that way that arm, hopefully it didn't break his arm. I don't know. Comment down below if his arm was actually broken or if he's seriously injured, because I don't know. And then the rematch, we had Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blaydes fight. Finally, the first one, I hated it because obviously there was a knee injury. Didn't get to see it happen. I'm glad that they got to battle it out again for the heavyweight title fight. Man, freaking Curtis Blaydes come out blazing with their striking. But then, man, I mean, you can't sleep on man Tom Aspinall. That dude is quick. He's agile. He's athletic for like a heavyweight. Ridiculous. And the dude's 6'5". I've never seen the guy in person, but it doesn't look 6'5". I guess because everybody in there is just as tall as him, and they look the same, so they don't look as tall. It's wild. Let me know in the comments down below, though, if you thought that was stopped a little too soon. You know what I mean? I mean, in my eyes, it wasn't, because Curtis Blaydes kind of ends up, he tries to get back up to his feet, gets hit with some shots, and kind of goes flat, like bellies down, like he got hurt. I don't know, but he stands up like, man, why'd you stop the fight? He was still good. They didn't look like they were powerful shots, but these are big boys. But anyway, that was an amazing fight. And of course, on to the main event of the evening, Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad 2. Now, the first time it was a tie because there was an eye pokage. So obviously that was very disappointing. And of course, Belal Muhammad was working super, super hard to get this fight back, and it wasn't happening. Leon was kind of pushing it back. He was, wanting to get that title fight, blah, 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 blah. Well, it ended up happening. And in my eyes, before the fight, this is crazy, because fights, especially at this level, it can go either way. It depends on who shows up that night, right? I figured Leon Edwards, he's fought heavy grapplers before. I thought the takedowns weren't going to be that good. I thought he was going to be able to defend the takedowns, or if he did get taken down, it was going to be easy for him to get back up, right? I thought he was going to outstrike Belal Muhammad, and of course, it went like the other way. So let's start off first round. First round, both guys, they come out aggressive. Belal Muhammad was in Leon Edwards' face, I mean, out of the gate, from the get-go. Just working his striking, trying to close that gap. His goal, in my eyes, was he was trying to get Leon Edwards to back up. Now, a lot of those Muay Thai striking, I don't want to really call him a Muay Thai guy, but he has more like a Muay Thai style, Leon Edwards does. And they don't do very well backing up. So I figured Belal Muhammad's goal was to back him up, get him up against the fence, and this is where Belal Muhammad, like, his game plan really happens, man. He gets him up against the cage and starts shooting. Well, that's exactly what happened. Just was in Leon Edwards' face right out of the gate and ends up backing him up, shooting for the takedown. It was like super easy. I've never seen Leon Edwards get taken down so easy. Belal Muhammad shot in, picked him up, took him down. Leon Edwards used his butterfly guard very well, ended up getting back up to his feet and turning it around. Had some striking exchanges once they got back up to their feet, and I thought maybe Leon Edwards, maybe in that first round, kind of leveled up a little bit, maybe outdid Belal Muhammad in the striking arena. It was still a little bit back and forth, and it was almost like Belal Muhammad was like 3 inches, a little too short from his heavy shots. Now his jab was working very well, not just in the first round, but throughout the fight. So his jab was landing, but also so was Leon Edwards. Later in that first round, Leon Edwards started to shell up like so, and Belal ends up hitting him with an uppercut, right? That uppercut stuck him, shot back in, taking Leon Edwards down and holding down the remainder of that first round. On to round 2, Belal Muhammad coming out with the pressure. Leon Edwards immediately hitting with a strong body kick. Man, I felt that body kick all the way from Simpsonville, South Carolina. But it didn't stop Belal Muhammad. Belal Muhammad was coming at him. They ended up getting in a clinch. Belal Muhammad ends up hitting with a knee tap, getting him to the cage. Leon gets back up, and oh my gosh, this is probably the craziest pile driver I've ever seen in my life. Wasn't really a pile driver, but you know what I mean. Belal Muhammad starts off like around his waist, right? Drops immediately down to a high crotch, lifting Leon Edwards up. I'm talking like grazing his head on the ceiling of this facility and dumping him directly onto his dome. Like, I thought he broke his neck. It reminded me of Rose Namajunas breaking her neck, pretty much doing the same thing. But Belal picks him up and boom, he gets back up to his feet, Leon does. Obviously, he's got great takedown defense. He uses the cage and utilizes the cage very well. I try to simulate that as much as possible. But then Belal does it again. Has around his waist, quick high crotch, boom, takes him down again, tries to take his back. And then next thing you know, Leon Edwards gets back up to his feet like he does and ends up switching around. He's like, you know what? I don't know what to do. I can't strike with this dude. He's beating me with volume. I'm gonna out wrestle this guy. So he ends up like taking Belal down and immediately taking his back as well. Finishing that round, taking Belal Muhammad's back. In back position, round's over, but that was definitely, I think in my eyes, a Belal round. So from round 1 and 2, it was definitely Belal all the way. 2-0. Third round, Belal Muhammad is literally taking notes out of Khabib Nurmagomedov's book, like handwritten book, was just relentless with his pressure. Ends up taking Leon Edwards down, and Leon Edwards does really good as soon as he gets taken down, getting his back to the cage and ends up turning, almost like he's turning his back. He does very well, and he's easy to get back up to your feet from there because he can tripod up. And as he was trying to get back up, I guess Belal Muhammad must have got a little top heavy, but as he was up against the fence, Leon Edwards slips past back behind Belal and ends up taking Belal's back, right? That was in the third round. Ends up taking Belal's back, getting his hooks in, and I guess Leon Edwards had, right now, he's 2 rounds down, and Belal Muhammad is winning the fight. Leon's like, you know what, if I can just hang on to this back position, I can win this round. At least I can do is win this round, and that's what he does. Ends up switching back and forth, looking for rear naked chokes, a little bit of pit-patting behind, get a little ground and pound in, ends up winning that third round via just back position, just maintaining that back position, not letting Belal Muhammad get back up to his feet, because it's a bad day if he does. Moving on to round 4, baby. I noticed something, and I didn't know if this is something that they had planned before stepping out there into the octagon preparing for this Leon Edwards fight, but as soon as that bell rang, you would see, and I didn't notice it until this round, Belal Muhammad would actually run past the center to take over the center of the octagon to keep Leon Edwards back facing the cage and as close to that cage as possible, making it a lot easier for him to back Leon Edwards up. So instead of just meeting him in the middle, if this was the middle, Belal Muhammad would run past the middle. He would literally launch himself out there at a fast walk, so that way Leon can't take the center of that cage, which made it a whole lot easier for Belal to take him down. Now, in the beginning, there was a few striking exchanges, and this is something that I also noticed in the 4th round. 3 striking techniques that really showcased Belal's striking and really showed his dominance in this fight. It was number 1, Belal Muhammad's jab. He was piecing him up with that jab so fast. Leon Edwards had a hard time dealing with it, man. Couldn't counter over top of it, but when Leon decided to jab back, it was the second technique that really frustrated, I think in my eyes, really frustrated Leon Edwards, and that was his check hook. And normally you don't see that from the smaller opponent, the shorter opponent. I think Leon Edwards had the reach advantage, but still it didn't make any sense. Like every time Leon Edwards would jab, Belal Muhammad would come over top of that jab with a check hook, landing that check hook, which is super frustrating, man. It doesn't make you want to jab. Every time you jab, you get and checked hook. It's very frustrating. And the third technique was his uppercut. He was uppercutting the crap out of Leon Edwards the entire fight. He was relentless with his techniques, ended up getting Leon Edwards to the cage and taking him down, taking his back, and the majority of that round, it was Belal maintaining that back position, striking, trying to look for his submissions there, but at the very end, I think it was like 10 seconds left, Leon ends up rolling out of it and ended up in guard position. Belal tries to get back up, goes to the cage, ends up turning his back. Leon Edwards has his back, but by then it was too late. That was a Belal Muhammad round. From first, second, and fourth round, all Belal. I think third round, Leon Edwards takes it. Now, let me remind you, please type in the comments down below how you saw this fight going, and round by round, how many rounds did you have Leon winning, and how many rounds did you have Belal winning? Moving on to the fifth and final round. All right, baby, fifth and final round, bell rings. Both come out. Obviously, Belal Muhammad was piecing him up with striking, backing Leon Edwards up to the cage, and you can tell, you know, Leon was definitely fatiguing a little bit. I mean, I can't imagine just getting back up, like getting taken down, getting back up, getting taken down, getting back up. But he still looked good. He still looked like he had some pop, was throwing some head kicks. Belal Muhammad ends up shooting out in the middle of the octagon and defended very well by Leon Edwards, but then he ends up backing Leon Edwards back into the cage, taking his back. Once again, the majority of that fight being down on the ground with Belal in his back position, working his ground and pound, looking for those chokes. Now, a lot of people thought this was a very boring fight. I thought it was a very technical fight. I enjoyed watching it. Whenever I watch a fight, I don't just watch the fight. I try to figure out what each fighter is doing and what they have been doing to prepare for this fight. Leon Edwards, you know, trying to figure out his game plan, and Belal Muhammad knowing what they're both trying to do and how they fight before the fight. But I try to see if there's any differences and see what they've even worked on, which is why I noticed the Belal Muhammad running to the middle and trying to keep Leon Edwards back. The three techniques that really, you know, help Belal Muhammad striking wise during this fight. But man, he was just very well rounded, man, Belal. And he's got cardio for days, dude. And that's one of the things that every fighter like dreams to have, is just a relentless cardio box, man. Like just being a machine and being just as good in the fifth round as you are in the first. It's very hard to do. I mean, you could tell he put in a lot of training for this fight. But the majority of the fight obviously was Belal taking Leon Edwards back. But at like 30 seconds in, I think, Leon Edwards ends up turning, getting out of the back position and really throwing down some ground and pound. Laid Belal Muhammad open with a nice elbow, man. And I think by that point, I think he was just a little too fatigued, because I wanted him to just throw relentless elbows if he was in that position to try to finish it. But bell ends up ringing, and we have a new champion. Unanimous decision. Belal Muhammad is the new champ. Type in the comments down below if you think Leon Edwards deserved an immediate rematch or not. Belal says otherwise. Belal says, I'm gonna give him 3 years just like he gave me. So we'll see what happens, man. What's next for Belal? What's next for Leon Edwards? Let me know in the comments down below. And thank you for joining me for this fight breakdown. I love you guys joining it. Please type in the comments down below as well. I've said that like a million times today, but what other kind of fights would you like to see, or what kind of breakdowns would y'all like to see? If it's my fights, other fights, street beefs, K1, I just love to break down fights. Anyway, thanks for joining. I love you guys. Peace.